We will return to Ringside Report MMA in just a moment. But first, here is a word from one of our affiliated sponsors.
I need to tell you about our friends over at X Marshall. The roar of the crowd drums in your ears, and the light. You stand in the octagon, the center of the universe, focused on one thing. Yeah, we got some Jon Jones news, some speculation about Conor McGregor, and some gloating from me.
Let's go!
Right off the bat, we got to start with the gloating. AJ, let's see if your internet is strong enough to hear this. Are you with me?
I'm with you, homie. Spit it out. What up,
Freddie? You know my parlay won last week.
Cool. How much did it pay out?
I don't remember. It was like 60 something on 20, maybe 70 something.
That's good. That's a nice. Yeah, nice, man.
Yeah. Yours didn't win. I went against one of your picks, I remember. It was a 2-fight parlay that I had for the UFC show last weekend. Which was Cannonier versus Borraio. I took Borraio in the main event to beat Cannonier, and he did. Impressive performance, unanimous decision over Jared Cannonier in the main event. And I also took my man Ryan Loder to win the Ultimate Fighter over Robert Valentin. He did so by TKO in the second round with some good old-fashioned ground and pound American wrestling, AJ, which I was talking about when I made that pick. He was a slight underdog, and I said, you know, this guy he's fighting is like, he was from Switzerland or something, and they're not really known for their wrestling, and this guy Loder was pretty tough. I figured he was going to come in and get the victory, and I was correct this time. And AJ, I remember you took your man Valentin, and he came out on the losing end, so your parlay didn't cash in. Fred, I totally forget what your parlay was from last week. I think you had Borraio in the main event. We all did. Right?
I don't remember.
Really?
But yeah, I had Caio, I remember, but did I have him on my parlay? I think I had like a double dog parlay that didn't come in.
Something just happened. I disappeared.
Yeah, something said Dave didn't have the same luck with his all-in picks. That's all I saw pop up, and you're gone. And I saw Naked Johnny.
I can't switch back
that,
for
Johnny?
some reason. There we go. I don't know. Yeah, Johnny's talking smack, and for some reason it takes over the whole screen. I don't love that. Let me tell you, I don't love that. Fred, I know you don't remember your picks from last week, but let me ask you a different question. Do you remember this morning?
What do you mean this morning?
Just in general, do you remember? I barely remember yesterday at this point. No?
I mean, I woke up. I remember that.
Yeah. After that, it's kind of hazy. Huh?
Yeah,
enjoyed another day.
Yeah, another day living the Fred life. I love it. I love it.
Living the dream, man. That's what counts.
What happened this morning?
Huh?
What happened this morning?
No, nothing. I was just testing your memory. I just wanted to see.
I thought you guys grappled or something. I thought something big was going to be announced, man.
No.
I'm like, the only kind of sports that happens in the morning is soccer. Did something happen? I don't know.
I have no idea. Fred probably grappled this morning. I grappled last night. Fred and I are on different schedules, unfortunately, at the gym.
Monday.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm off, eh? It's Labor Day. Monday morning.
Labor Day, man.
Who's teaching, Mark?
Yep.
Ooh. Okay, I'll see what I can do. I would like that very much. Okay. So, yeah, my parlay won. It was a 2-fight parlay. Not that impressive. But, AJ's parlay.
You still made money, man.
Oh, AJ's parlay didn't win, which is most important, I think. And I think really the most important is that we all picked Borrayo to win, and he did in the main event, and that was the big fight on the card. Nice win for Borrayo. Moves him up in the middleweight rankings. He's not quite at a title shot, but a couple more fights against some top contenders. Like, he's, climbing the ranks, right? You got to start taking this guy seriously. Beating Jared Cannonier is not easy. Not a lot of guys beat Jared Cannonier. He's got big wins in the middleweight division. He fought for the title.
17-8, man.
The division is pretty deep right now, DDP, champ, Adesanya, okay, he's out of the title picture for now. But, with a couple of wins, he's back in it. Strickland is in the title picture. Whitaker, there's a lot of guys for Borrayo to go over. So, but nice win for him, and he's probably going to get a little higher in the rankings, get another nice matchup, and he needs to pull off some other wins.
Speaking of the middleweight,
17-1,
Yeah, he's very impressive.
Yeah, no, he's a good fighter, but I think he's like in the rankings right now, or whoever is like in line to get a title shot. I'll put Strickland, I'll put Whitaker, I'll put Khamzat, I'll put a lot of guys before him. Like,
of course, I don't think you'd be wrong. But if looking at that middleweight ranking right now, Dricus, of course, on top as a champion. They've got Sean Strickland ranked 1, Adesanya ranked 2, Robert Whitaker ranked 3. Nasruddin Imavov ranked 4, and Caio Borrayo now cracking the top 5. He's in at number 5. So he's up there, He's like a fight or two away. Like a fight against the right guy puts him in the right position to get a title shot maybe next year. But speaking of that championship and of that middleweight division, I saw Dana White talking about Dricus du Plessis and saying that his next title defense, he wants it to be in South Africa, and they're trying to work out a deal to get that done, which sounds like it's not happening until sometime in 2025. So don't expect Dricus to fight again this year, and even early next year seems doubtful. I would say the earliest, like just based on what Dana said about waiting out to fight Dricus in South Africa, it's going to be 2025, and I don't think they have all the details ironed out for that. It's going to be their first time over there. Who knows where they're going to be? Who knows how it's going to go? I think the earliest we'd see that fight would be April, and who knows who he fights? That's another question, I think Israel Adesanya would be a great opponent for Dricus in Africa. I think if you would have done Dricus and Adesanya in Africa the first time, it would have been massive.
I agree.
I think Sean Strickland could be a difficult opponent choice for Africa based on his the things that he says, and who knows what he might say in South Africa. Who knows who he might offend. But I think you could say that about Sean Strickland in any location around the world. Like, you know, he came to Canada and he got headlines, right? So,
did he take down Machine Gun Kelly too?
Yeah, he's like had some verbal warfare with Machine Gun Kelly, which, like, come on, that guy needs to settle down.
He was funny.
Machine Gun Kelly's talking a lot of trash about guys that, like, come on, man. They'd squash him like a bug, man. Sean Strickland would squash him like a bug. I saw Machine Gun Kelly saying he had some sort of problem with Randy Orton, and he, like, flipped him off backstage. Like, Randy Orton would destroy you, man. Like, Randy's so big. Like, what are you talking about? Like, chill, Machine Gun Kelly. That guy, he runs. He's
never grappled in his life, probably.
No, man, he's skinny like a twig. This guy is 6'4", 120 pounds. Like, it's insane. It's crazy.
Is he that tall?
I'm joking, but he looks tall, like real tall, and like mad skinny. Like he'd be like 6'2" and like 140, and you'd be like, what? You know what I mean? Skin and bones, this guy.
And I think for that to be possible, half his body has to be drugs.
Yeah, well, by looking at him, it kind of looks that way. But if we're waiting on Dreykus, say April, who's his opponent?
But why April, man? What would stop them from having a show before in South Africa? South Africa has MMA.
The rest of the year is booked. The rest of the year for the UFC is booked, I would say. So maybe early 2025, possibly February, March.
I mean, it'd be disappointing for DDP not to fight for, I don't know. I'd like to see him, I'd say within 6 to 7 months at the most, or something like that, 8 months. But hey, maybe it's a little longer. Like if it's like 8 months, it's not too bad. We're already in September in 2 days. So, April, that's 7 months, 8 months.
Yeah, so that's 8 months.
That's not too bad. That's possible.
No. Yeah, I think that's probably what they'd be aiming for. I'm really wondering about what the opponent might look like. You know, is it going to be a Khamzat Chimaev? Is it going to be a Robert Whittaker? More and more, I'm thinking that the opponent's going to come out of that fight. But Strickland might get it. There's a lot of speculation going down in the UFC right now. A lot of big names swirling around the company without fights. We've got Conor McGregor in the background. Dana White says there's going to be news about McGregor soon. There's going to be news soon about Volkanovski. There's going to be news soon about Charles Oliveira. Chucky Olives, our main man.
Chucky.
Big news coming up, Dana White is teasing. When? Don't know. What it's going to be?
But it's there.
Don't know. He did pretty much confirm Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic, Madison Square Garden in November, which we kind of knew already, but he's basically confirming it. Who's booing? Is that you, AJ? You booing? You booing?
I don't think it's going to happen, man. He's going to announce it. You should
watch the press conference that Dana White had Tuesday night after the Contender Series.
I know he's hyped and everything, but I don't think it's going to happen, man. September to November, man. I have a feeling the backup is going to end up taking it. I'm just saying.
Okay, that might happen if something happens to Stipe, but I doubt it. And even then, I think if something happens to Stipe and he's injured and they just postpone the fight, I don't think Aspinall steps in. I think they still wait. Because like Dana White said on Tuesday night when he met with the media, he respects these guys too much as legends to not give them the fight that they want. This is the fight that they both want. Stipe Miocic didn't want some other fight. Stipe only wants to fight Jon Jones. And then he will likely retire, win or lose.
So you're saying that Dana respects the legends, but he obviously stepped over George St. Pierre when that time happened. So I don't know, man.
I don't know what you're talking about.
George
stepped over the legends with George St. Pierre. What do you mean exactly?
Well, you're talking about that he'll give fights to the legends and he respects them, but there's certain legends that didn't really get respected as much as they should have. So I don't put too much weight into what Dana says.
He burned the UFC. Be real. Be real. George burned them twice.
How did he do that?
Huh? Come on, man. He announced that semi-retirement after the Hendricks fight without giving Dana a heads up beforehand that he was going to do that.
So what? So what?
That hurts the business. From a promoter standpoint, you got to be pissed off.
Halfway through that fight, he finally said, like, oh, yeah, this is enough for me.
Okay. Well, how about this? He told them he was going to defend the middleweight championship so he could fight Michael Bisping, that everybody saw as a sitting duck, as a middleweight champion. They gave George the shot and said, okay, you'll be our new middleweight champion. This is going to be great. And he's like,
Yeah, well, I mean, if Dana's dumb enough to believe him, I mean, that's Dana's fault, man. I mean, it was obvious that GSP was, like, I remember we were saying it while we were doing the show back then that, no, George is not going to do another fight. So if Dana believed him, that's Dana's fault, man. Don't blame George on that.
Dana's always hopeful as a promoter, but I'm just telling you,
Dana's a shark. Dana, why was he dumb that time?
Wow. I'm just telling you the UFC's perspective, why they didn't give Khabib or George the Khabib fight, because at that time, George had burned them twice. Khabib was the golden goose, and George was the 170 king who would be fighting their 155 golden goose, and they didn't want George to burn them a third time by beating Khabib, which he would have done, and then walking away as a 3-division champion and the greatest of all time without ever fighting in the octagon again. They didn't want that to happen. That's why they didn't give him the Khabib fight when he wanted it. Come on. I mean, I love George St. Pierre, and I understand why George St. Pierre made the moves that he made, and he had a great career, and he's healthy and wealthy right now, as he puts it.
But he is.
But from a promoter's perspective, I also get why Dana didn't want to give him the Khabib fight at the time. Like, I get both sides of the argument. From Dana's point of view, he got burned twice. He's not going to burn me a third time. I'm not going to let him beat Khabib and then walk away so that our big pay-per-view star in the making in Khabib gets squashed by George, who no longer makes money for us because he's leaving the company. I get it. They want you to lose on the way out. They want you to make money for them and then lose on the way out. The only difference is with Jon Jones is that Dana now at this point is convinced, like, yeah, I don't know if anybody can beat the guy. It seems like no one can beat the guy. And Dana is trying real hard to be like, oh, Jon Jones, I think you could beat Tom Aspinall. Why don't you stay? I think you could fight Aspinall. I mean, I think Jones is going to fight Aspinall. I don't think Jones is going to fight Aspinall. I think he's going to retire after fighting Stipe, too.
Pereira next.
Pereira Aspinall? Or Pereira Jones?
Pereira Jones.
That'd be sick, but I just don't think
that's
Jones
an
is
easy
fight
fight for Jon Jones. Yeah, you will,
That's
man.
Yeah, but if he fights Pereira, I think people are going to say he's ducking Aspinall if he takes a different fight, because Pereira's not calling him out hard like Aspinall is. Aspinall's begging.
And as for Dana, the promoter, man, Dana should just be trying. Like, I remember I argued that back in the days. I disagree. Like, I know, I agree with what you're saying, that's how Dana is probably thinking, but I disagree that's how he should be thinking. Floyd Mayweather is undefeated, and he's always making money for every promoter he fought for. So, like, there's money to be made with a guy, even if, like, fucking milk George St. Pierre, milk Jon Jones as much as you can. And if they lose and pass the torch, great. And if they don't, just keep on milking them for as much money as you can make. Those guys are cash cows. So I don't know. I tend to disagree on that point. I think.
But if the guy doesn't want to fight anymore, how are you going to milk him? Like, if George doesn't want to fight.
Well, I mean, no, but you say he didn't give him the Khabib fight because of what George did in the past. But that's a big fight. Like, George versus Khabib would have made a lot of money for George, for Khabib, and for the UFC. So that's what I'm saying. Dana, milk, like, get as much as you can out of George. So I don't understand. I disagree with that line of thinking of not giving him the fight because, in the past, he burned me by saying he would fight again and he didn't. Like, if I'm the promoter, I want to get as many fights as I can out of out of Conor McGregor, out of George St. Pierre, out of Jon Jones. Like, I'm not getting picky with those guys. That's my 2 cents.
I'm just saying, I don't know if Khabib is as big of a pay-per-view draw if he loses to George St. Pierre. The short-term money may not be worth the long-term money with Khabib for that one-stop fight where George could walk away
Khabib ended up retiring like 2 fights later.
Dana wasn't able to predict that. He wasn't able to predict that Khabib's father would die and then set off Khabib stepping away from fighting. Guy died of COVID. I mean, Dana couldn't predict the pandemic.
Well, he kind of did that before with his mom when he promised his mom that he wasn't going to fight, right?
But that was after his father died, I think.
No, it was before.
I don't know.
It was before. But
we can talk about Khabib's mama and his daddy all day. The fact of the matter remains that the UFC has a business to run, and I don't know. I don't blame them for not giving George some of the fights. And I think that at this point, it's in the UFC's best interest to do this Jon Jones and Stipe fight because it's a way to keep Jon Jones happy. Because if you say to Jon, like, no, it's not going to be Stipe, it's going to be somebody else, Jon could say, I retire. I'm not fighting at all. How about that? You know? Very easily, he could just step away. Jon Jones doesn't have to take another fight. If the UFC starts trying to play around and be like, hey,
more money. Like, Jon Jones made good money, but he knows he can make more. Like, let's not act as if Jon Jones has made, like, he's made good money, but he hasn't made money like some of these top boxers or whatever. Jon Jones still wants another big payday. He wants to party, man. That costs a lot of money. Come on.
I think he's pretty rich, dude. I think he's made a lot.
He could be richer.
He could always be richer. And I hope he wants to make more and more money. And he does. I hope he does. I hope he keeps fighting forever because I'm not sure anyone could stop him. I'd like to see him continue to fight until someone stops him just to see how it's done. You know? Is it possible? Lior, member of the team, joining in, says, is this a Greatest Hits rerun episode? Why are we talking about GSP versus Khabib? Sorry for tuning in late.
You missed it, Lior.
Good stuff. Antoinette gifting a membership. Thank you, Antoinette. Antoinette out in Toronto.
Way to go.
Gifting the membership to Dave's channel. Wait a second. This is Dave's channel. I'm confused. Franco316 checking in. Member of the team over at join.ringsidereport.net, as is Angelo. What's up, Angelo Contagonis out in Laval? Our buddy Angelo. I don't want to talk about Johnny North because he's talking about how the Yankees lost yesterday. Not even today. They're not even playing today, but he's talking about yesterday, which is really annoying. So rude. Johnny
lost? How come?
DJ Bourne is in the house, too?
I don't know. Just flat. Flat last night and the night before. I don't know. Maybe they're partying a little too much on the road. I don't know what's happening, but they played 2 out of 3 with Washington, and they lost 2 out of 3, and Washington's not a good team. I don't know what happened.
Let's go Expos.
Not good. Not good. What else is happening? Conor McGregor news. Possibly Dana White is teasing. I don't know. What is that?
I'm not sure what you're talking about right now, but I know like a week or 2 ago, Chandler was still like hoping to get this fight, and I was so sad to see him cling. Like, I forget what he tweeted out. He was in a war of words, I think, with Dustin Poirier on Twitter or something, and like, Chandler, man, you wasted 2 years of your life on this. Move on, man. Who knows when Conor's gonna fight? Just move on, man.
I don't know. Chandler just seems kind of sad. Maybe he's never going to get the fight.
He won't.
It's unclear. I think again, like, the UFC kind of owes it to him at this point, making him wait this long. How do you not give him the Conor fight? While he doesn't have another opponent. Like, if Chandler's ready to fight and Conor's ready to fight, how do you turn around and go, Conor, you're going to fight Max Holloway instead? How do you do that?
Because he's a bigger name. He's a bigger name, Dave. Let's be honest. The money is going to be, the pay-per-view points. I mean, like everything you could think about, who's more marketable, go straight to Holloway, man.
But, AJ, but here's the other argument against that. He is a bigger fight because he's Max Holloway, because he's great and all of that. But Michael Chandler hasn't had the opportunity to be a bigger fight because he's been inactive for years waiting for Conor McGregor.
Well, that just shows you he's not a real star. He's not a real star. He can't be like on the shelves for 2 years, man. Michael Chandler's a guy that needs to be active, or people are just gonna forget about him. Like hardcore MMA fans know who he is, but casuals, man, they're forgetting about him right now. It's like, who's this guy? What, this guy's like 1-4 in the UFC? Why are we so like? Why should I care about this guy?
And you're right, Freddie. And it's sad because he's so talented. I love Chandler, but it's like the ones that know him. And you're right. And he's not a hot ticket. He's not at that marketable stage where Holloway is. And he's coming to the end of his years as well, Holloway, and so is Conor. You got to do it now. That's a fight that people want to see now, because let's be honest, if Conor's fighting every 3 years, I think that might be the last fight for either Holloway and Conor.
I'm not sure, though. If I'm Conor, I'm not sure I want to fight Holloway, man. To me, Holloway's a much tougher fight than Chandler. If Conor's looking for a win, Conor should probably pick Chandler out of the two, I feel.
Yep.
But it'll be a war.
I mean, Conor has a win against Holloway, I think, right?
Yep.
At 145, they face. But, I mean, that's so many years ago. Max Holloway has evolved. Conor has devolved.
Yeah.
So
that's the Conor that beat Dustin Poirier. The Conor that beat Max Holloway is the same Conor that beat Dustin Poirier and the same Conor that beat Jose Aldo. It's not the current Conor who lost to Dustin Poirier, who beat Donald Cerrone. It's not that. Very nice. Very nice.
A little Maui Wowie for Max Holloway.
Good for him. Right? Like, that Conor's different than the Conor of today, and I think the Conor of today would have a lot of problems with Max Holloway. I don't think that's a smart fight, even though on paper it is a bigger fight. I think you have to do Conor and Chandler. You have to. Yeah, who do you want to see Holloway fight next?
Conor.
Yeah, okay, but like
Poirier.
Put that out of the mix. Poirier? Topuria for the featherweight belt. Okay. Yeah. How about Volkanovski? You want to see Volkanovski and Charles Oliveira at 155?
Why not?
Yeah.
That sounds fun to me. I wonder if they're going to make that. Dana White's
two
making.
Veterans. I like that.
Huh?
Two veterans. I'd consider that almost a super fight. It's fun. I'd like it. Like, it's a fun fight, whatever you want to call it.
And I think it puts you in a title shot position. Puts you in a real good spot. Good fights out there.
Jason says, there's a lot of good fights, man. You just got to make them. But Jason, like he says, Conor is retired, sort of. And he's right. He's got a lot of things going, man, from his beer company that he's building again. This guy is, involved in movies and is involved with so many things. Every time I see something on TMZ, Conor's involved. Yeah, he's sort of retired, but Conor's the type of guy that is going to step out with one last fight. Win or lose, he's going to still have that one fight, he's sort of retired.
I mean, how many fights has he had in the past few years now? Like, he's barely fights.
One.
He's been inactive for... It's going to be a couple years at least, right?
Well,
Conor now 36 years old. Hasn't fought since 2021. July 2021.
When was that Cerrone fight?
The Cerrone fight, the last win was January 2020. We're talking about 5 years almost now. Jeez.
That's what I said, man. He's going to have one more fight because you won't see Conor ever fight that fight for another 3 years. He'll be 40 years old at that point.
It's kind of amazing how he still dominates the MMA headlines. You know? He was supposed to fight Chandler back in June of this year. That was the word, and then something happened, and the UFC didn't say exactly, and Conor said his foot was broken, but it wasn't clear if that was the reason why the fight was canceled. That was weird, right? What happened back in June, guys? What happened? We still don't really know. What?
He broke his toe and went mountain climbing. That's what he did. You know? We don't know.
But
he was shooting a movie.
We don't know.
You know, we don't know. But there's a lot of he was doing movies and he broke his toe.
He broke his toe while he was holding a short blonde lady.
Little. Well, at first, you know what?
He was disrespecting his wife once again.
Well,
he got married. Did he just get married? Isn't he officially married like a couple of weeks ago?
I don't know.
I think Conor is officially married now.
Conor's relationships, messy as they may be. Oh my goodness. It's crazy how much we talk about Conor McGregor and how little he fights. Like, all of MMA is guilty of this, right? The guy hasn't fought since 2021, and it feels like ever since he fought, we've been talking about when he's going to fight next. The whole sport is like, when? When's it going to happen? And he manages to keep himself in the conversation. You know, he does the Ultimate Fighter, and you think, at the end of this, he's going to fight Chandler. Wrong. They announce a pay-per-view, they announce a press conference, and then they cancel it last minute. We thought he was going to fight this year. Wrong. But he keeps his name out there. It's very strategic.
Hey, Antoinette, he got married. Find his wedding shots, Dave.
I'm good.
Come on, man. It was a nice wedding.
That wasn't Conor getting married. That was him at a wedding. I remember. I saw those recently. That was not his wedding.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think it was his, man.
I don't think so.
Either or. He's still out there.
Well, I hope they give Michael Chandler the fight. If it's not Chandler, it would be nuts. I don't know what they do instead. And we're just waiting on Islam Makhachev. I don't know when he's going to fight next, but he's a 155 champion, and he's important in all of this because a lot of those guys are 155ers and looking for a 155 title shot. It seems like Islam is going to fight Arman Sarukian next, but, there was talk of October, but now probably not October. I mean, definitely not now. Maybe early 2025, but Islam's got a hand injury, so he's out for a little while, which kind of sucks. Everybody wants to see Islam Makhachev fight. Next week, guys, we've got a big pay-per-view. You know that? Wait, no. It's not next week. It's the week after. Oof. Oh, that's good. I get actually a weekend off next week. That's nice. Finally. I was working last weekend watching the AEW. I'm going to be working this weekend watching WWE Bash in Berlin. UFC Noche at the Sphere coming up September the 14th. So it's not this Saturday or next Saturday. It's the following Saturday, the 14th. Already in September, guys. Crazy.
Crazy, man.
I'm looking forward to that show in the Sphere. Not only because of the card, but on TV, I think it's going to look cool. That Sphere place looks cool. That's one UFC where I kind of go, man, I'd like to go to that. I don't often want to go to the UFC events because I've been to so many UFC events that at this point, I'm good. Once in a while it'd be nice to go, but I've seen so many and I can't imagine wanting to anything that would push me to kind of travel to go to another one. But the one at the Sphere, it's kind of oh, that's cool. I'm tempted.
It is cool.
It's the first one where I go, oh, man, if I had the
headliner.
time a little bit more at this point, I might do it. But it's too tough to get over to Vegas. I'm not doing it.
I mean,
but the Sphere, all the stuff you see about that Sphere location there in Vegas, it looks cool as hell.
Cool.
And they're spending a lot of money on the production and stuff. It's going to be an experience. So to see the UFC in that venue would be kind of a unique thing. So it's going to be cool. I think it's going to work real good on TV too. On the pay-per-view, I think it's going to look nice.
Listen, I think they're a little flat on the main event. I honestly look, no offense.
What?
I love Sean O'Malley. I find that,
Come on, man.
They
Merab O'Malley, that's great.
Yeah.
Merab and O'Malley, that's flat?
I think it would have been a great co-main, but I think they needed something with a little bit more, man. I'm telling you. That's my feeling. Like if there was something like a Conor on there, like I was hoping there would be, or something like a Pereira, that would you need something with more impact, man.
Oh, you thought you were just gonna get a bigger fight at the Sphere. You thought you were getting UFC 300 type shit.
All right.
Yeah,
Wait.
man.
I see what you mean.
So we're lacking of content this week. There's no card and whatever. So let's turn it to this. AJ, name me 5 bigger draws than O'Malley in the UFC. Like he's still a big draw.
I'm just saying,
go do it. Try do it.
I think
do it, bro.
I think the Chandler. Well, active. I think personally, I already told you this in the past. I thought this would have been the card for Chandler.
Jon
and
Jones.
Conor.
AJ, can you
I'll
list
give you
5
even Conor
bigger draws? He'll help you. We'll help you even.
Yeah, I just
Conor,
told you
Jon
Chandler,
Jones.
Conor. That's
Jon Jones.
Ooh.
Anybody else bigger draw than Sean O'Malley? How about Alex Pereira?
So many,
maybe,
man.
yeah. Okay, 3.
No, not so
honest.
many. We're struggling to name more than 3, AJ. That's not so many. Sean O'Malley may be the 4th biggest draw in the UFC right now. And that's only next to Jon Jones and Conor McGregor, who basically don't fight.
I mean, O'Malley's a big draw,
hoping.
Man. He deserves to be at the Sphere.
He is a big draw.
McGregor is retired, so let's stop talking about him. Jon Jones is injured. Pereira has been so active, man. Let's give him a couple months extra.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
I think Pereira is probably the biggest active draw in the UFC. Like, take Jon Jones and Conor McGregor out of the picture because they're like attractions. They're special attractions you see every couple of years, and it's a really special thing. It's rare, They're not fighting once or twice a year. They're not active draws for the UFC, right? So in a definition of the active draws in the UFC, who would you say is a top 5, Fred? Because we are low on content and we don't have a UFC show this weekend.
I mean, Strickland.
But seriously, I think that's a good
AJ
question.
Mentioned Strickland, and Strickland's definitely a big draw.
Strickland.
That's what I said.
I'll put him as a big draw.
Is Strickland a bigger draw than Adesanya, though? I don't think so.
Yes, I think
He's
so.
up
In
there.
the US,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
He's up there. In North America,
he has a
that's
following.
debatable. Are they both
huge
bigger draws
following.
than Dricus?
Yeah.
Probably still. Because Dricus, being from South Africa and all that, he doesn't have a big fall. Like, by draw, we mean people that sell pay-per-views, and pay-per-views are sold in North America. So,
But I think Pereira right now is their biggest draw, and I think an indication of that is whenever they need a big fight and a big draw, they call Pereira.
So yeah,
he's their money guy right
Strickland, Pereira, Strickland, Adesanya, maybe. I mean, there's not a lot of guys. There's not a lot of guys that are better draws than O'Malley right now. So O'Malley's a decent pick for that fight. Like, I mean, if they could have got McGregor or Jon Jones, of course they would have went that route, or even Pereira. But Pereira has fought like a couple months ago, man. Let's be reasonable, man. The guy needs a little break
round out.
Also,
I want to round out that top 5 for a second, okay? Because I'll give you Sean Strickland. I'm not sure, but I could see Strickland being a huge draw, and I'm buying into it. Strickland, let's just not in any order, right? Strickland, Adesanya, Pereira, O'Malley. Okay, I would put O'Malley in the top 5 of draws in the UFC. People like this kid, and he's gaining a lot of momentum. Who is the 5th guy? Is it? I'm going to give you 2 options because I don't think it's anybody else but these 2 guys. Is it Islam Makhachev, or is it Tom Aspinall? And if it's not Tom Aspinall, that shows you why Jon Jones really doesn't need to fight this guy.
No, I agree.
I'd like to
Tom
see
Aspinall
numbers.
definitely...
I think it's Islam.
I
think
like
Islam would round out that top 5. He's a draw. People want to see this dude.
You said earlier, Khabib, we were talking about GSP and Dana not wanting to lose his draw, but was Khabib really that big of a pay-per-view sale guy?
After
he
Conor.
sells a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, after Conor. The Conor rub. That fight was crazy, dude. The whole world saw that. And they saw this guy Khabib ragdoll Conor, and they didn't think that was possible.
So maybe Islam is a bigger draw, but I think Tom Aspinall talking English and all that sells more also. Like it'd be a close call between both. I'm not sure.
Brett,
I'd like to see some numbers.
I love Tom Aspinall as a fighter, but as a draw, I really got to question it because you look at Islam Makhachev, this guy main events pay-per-views. Tom Aspinall was the co-main event of his last pay-per-view that got headlined by smaller guys than him, and they were Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad, who are not big draws in the UFC, who aren't even in the conversation of big draws in the UFC that we're currently having. We didn't for once mention Leon Edwards or Bilal Muhammad, even though they headline over Tom Aspinall. And you know why we didn't mention Bilal Muhammad or Leon Edwards? Because they don't belong in the conversation of big draws in the UFC, because people aren't excited about their fights. People aren't paying to see them, especially not after that last one. No one's paying to see Bilal Muhammad's next fight. No one cares. That guy's going to be a co-main event. He's not headlining a pay-per-view unless they find him a big-time opponent. Even then, like, I think there's a lack of big names at welterweight. You know, maybe I think the big name they throw at him probably to sell pay-per-view is Kamaru Usman. I think Usman and Bilal is probably next, just because they need to sell a pay-per-view and try to get people to realize, like, hey, here's our new champion is Bilal Muhammad. You remember Kamaru Usman? You want to see him fight, right? Well, here's Bilal Muhammad. He's the new guy. Let's, try to buy his pay-per-views going forward. I think Kamaru's got to be next for Bilal because they need to make this guy into a star. Because you can't headline a pay-per-view with Bilal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov because not enough people know about either guy, so it's not going to sell a pay-per-view, even though I think, and you guys think, that Shavkat should be next up, and Shavkat is the man. And like, we were talking about it when Bilal and Leon were walking into the cage. Like, these guys are cool and all, and they're fighting for the welterweight title, and they're real good, but Shavkat Rakhmonov would beat their ass. So we're just waiting for Shavkat.
Jason agrees with you.
If you're the UFC, maybe you take a bet on Shavkat and you accept one pay-per-view with low numbers and Shavkat wins impressively, and then you got a star in the making. So I don't know. I'd like to see Shavkat get the title, but yeah, Usman is the bigger name right now, so maybe he'll be next in line. But Shavkat should be the guy getting it.
I agree, but I would almost guarantee that if Usman can get healthy, that he would be up next. I'd be shocked if it wasn't him, because there's no other name at 170 that you could give. And Dana was so unimpressed with Leon Edwards' performance, he's not going to give him an immediate rematch. So I think they're going to look at Kamaru Usman or, I think it'd be tough to go back to Kobe Covington because of so many losses, but honestly, he sells and people, want to see him. I think at this point it's kind of played out. Usman's the better look. I think they'd probably go at Usman. And if they can't get Usman, then they might bite the bullet and do Shavkat and Bilal in a co-main event on something. Or main eventing like a UFC on ABC, Abu Dhabi card type of deal. You know what I mean? Where it's a fight night, but it's like a big fight night. But main eventing a pay-per-view that has to sell, where people have to buy it, I don't think so.
You put it to the test. It's Tom Aspinall against I don't care who, and you put Bilal versus Shavkat. Who's the main event? It's Bilal versus Shavkat, probably. I don't know.
Well, it would depend who Aspinall's fighting.
Aspinall's facing, yeah.
If he's fighting Cyril Gann, like Cyril and Aspinall might main event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
I want to see that fight. I don't know why we're waiting around for that. Aspinall's like almost waiting around for Jon Jones, but like, dude, he's not going to fight you. Fight Cyril Gann. What are we waiting for? Stop bullshitting, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Stop bullshitting. Fight Cyril Gann. Aspinall looks real good against Curtis Blades and shit, and he's good and all, but like, fight a real smooth striker. Everybody talks about, Aspinall, he moves so crazy, like a heavyweight. He moves so quick, like a middleweight. It's crazy. How's he so big and moving so well? And it's weird because they said, all of them, the exact same words about Cyril Gann when Cyril was fighting a little bit more active in the UFC. He hasn't fought in a little bit, but it's weird.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. But that would be a good fight. They're very similar in style. They're very similar in, like in movement and whatnot. Like, they're big boys that move like middleweights at some points. And that's the thing there. It's impressive, but I agree. That should be the fight to be made.
Should be
next. What I was saying earlier, it should be next. And I agree, like, in some sense, like, like Jason definitely agrees with you that, Islam easily outsells Aspinall.
Yeah.
But, man,
thanks,
like, I it's, it's close. But he mentions Strickland. He mentions Adesanya, and he mentions Dricus as those top 5.
Yeah, Strickland, Adesanya, bigger stars. But he thinks Strickland is a bigger star than Adesanya, and that they're both bigger stars than Dricus, which we are agreeing with as well, for sure. Guys, no UFC card this weekend, but we do have WWE's Bash in Berlin going on this Saturday. Gunther defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Randy Orton.
I like Gunther. I like
the
Gunther.
Ring General. He'll be main eventing. Probably main eventing. We got Kevin Owens. Montreal's own Kevin Owens going up against Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship.
Kevin!
Over in Berlin, Germany.
Park Safari.
Yeah. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in a strap match.
Oh.
We've got Mommy.
Let's do it.
Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest taking on Liv Morgan and Dirty Dominic Mysterio, and some other stuff that we will talk about tomorrow night on Wrestling Uncensored with Johnny North right after WWE SmackDown. SmackDown in Berlin tomorrow night, which is pretty cool. And then the WWE in Berlin on Saturday afternoon for the big premium live event.
Oh.
A tag team match for the WWE Women's Championship added to Bash in Berlin. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill challenging Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, the champions. We'll preview that, and we'll talk about everything that happened in AEW on Dynamite and Bryan Danielson winning the AEW World Championship. Fred, did you see this? Bryan Danielson won the title. You didn't see this?
But hey, yeah, no, I didn't see it. But now that you say that, man, I'm gonna take over because I know you're gonna give some props tomorrow to Sid Justice, man. But I gotta give props to Sid Justice that passed away this week, man. It affected me because I started thinking about it. Why am I affected by that? And I think Sid Justice might be my favorite wrestler when I grew up, man. My years of wrestling started at WrestleMania 3. All the way to like The Rock, Austin, Triple H. And man, I love Sid Justice, man. That guy was so impressive, man. And it was sad to see him pass away. And it's sad that he's not in the Hall of Fame because he should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. I hope the WWE will correct that and put him in the Hall of Fame. Go watch that Survivor Series 1996 when he wins the championship. The crowd loves him. People love Sid Justice. Like I say, he might have been my favorite wrestler growing up. Unfortunately, fuck cancer, and rest in peace, Sid Justice. I hope somebody is telling you the man right now, because you are the man.
I love Psycho Sid Justice. I thought he was great. I'm glad that you love him so much. We'll definitely talk about him.
Was he bigger than Hogan?
Oh, yeah, he's taller than Hogan,
Definitely.
That's for sure. He was huge. He was legit like 6'9". He was a gigantic guy. He was the first guy that tall that was like that I saw in wrestling that was jacked, that looked like the like shorter jacked wrestlers in the physique. Like back then the really tall guys were like kind of skinny or just kind of big like Andre and just kind of slower, and but Sid was like a different style. He was like a hybrid where it was like, oh, he can move, he's really jacked, and he's ridiculously tall. When I saw Sid, I was like, what the hell? How did they make a human like this? I didn't realize you could be that tall in wrestling and also jacked and agile and everything. He was very impressive. I loved Sid. I was a huge fan, man. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah, he was great. We'll talk about Sid Udy tomorrow night on Wrestling Uncensored. We'll also preview WWE's Bash in Berlin and other stuff. What else? Bryan Danielson. Oh, yeah, I wanted to show you Bryan Danielson. Look at this. Look at that.
What's up with that?
He won. He's a champion. There he is with his son.
Good for him.
Ooh, he looks a little battered there, eh?
Yeah. There he is, kissing the wife with blood all over his face. That's Brie Bella.
Nice.
And there's his daughter, Bryan Danielson.
I saw some of
the new AEW world champion, winning it in front of over 50,000 at Wembley Stadium last Sunday. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. One of the greatest moments I have ever seen in professional wrestling. It was magical.
I saw some of John Cena. I was going to say I saw some of John Cena's interview with Shannon Sharp. That was pretty good also, man.
I didn't see that interview. I'll check that out.
John
Cena's a super weird guy. I saw some quotes about that. I saw some quotes about him having kids and stuff, and just it was an odd. The way he talks about it is weird, but you know.
So basically, Johnny wants to know why my kid has a bandage over his head, because my kid thought he was Jimmy Superfly Snuka, except he landed on a cement bench and has 7 stitches across his eye, and he's only 4 years old. So Johnny, you got somebody for the future to train.
When did that happen? The kid is that a new one?
No, that's the same one.
That's the other day. Okay, yeah, I didn't know he had 7 stitches. Oh,
yeah, man, he's like a cross. He looks like Rocky, man. Rocky 4, Rocky 5, somewhere around there.
He's your
but Superfly Snuka, man.
That's your guy for sure, HA. That's your boy. He's just like you.
Superfly. I love Superfly,
he's getting into trouble.
Minus
just
the murder charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's right, baby.
Allegations. Is it charge? Has he been charged? Allegations.
I thought he was.
Yeah, he might have been charged.
I think they were gonna put him on trial, but then he was like too sick, and then he basically died. But yeah, I mean,
the spider got squished.
Yeah. And Antoinette says sad about Nikki Bella. Yeah, Nikki Bella's husband got arrested for like a domestic deal. I don't know I don't know how Nikki Bella is doing. If something happened with Nikki, or I don't know. You would guess, right? Because it's her husband. So he was arrested. So yeah, I mean, Nikki Bella, I feel terrible for her. If you watched Total Divas and saw how John Cena treated her, you just felt awful for Nikki Bella. And now this, you're just like, oh, man. Poor Nikki can't catch a break on a week that's just so triumphant for her sister and her family with Brian and everything. For this to happen to Nikki is just devastating. I feel really bad for Nikki Bella. And, like, that whole family's gone through a lot. The mother is still married to John Laurinaitis, the guy who's named in the Vince McMahon, like, sexual trafficking lawsuit. You know what I mean? Like, she's still married to this guy, and he was doing all this, allegedly, while she was married to him and undergoing cancer treatments. That's the mother, and now the daughter, Nikki Bella, had to go through this John Cena relationship. She on TV that just was a mess, and then he proposed at WrestleMania. Then a year later, they're broken up, and now her new husband is in jail for a domestic violence thing, and, but her sister, Brie, with Bryan Danielson, the great Bryan Danielson, saving the Bella family, the only good man there, JJ included. But my God.
Sounds like a Jerry Springer episode.
Yeah, it's sad, man. It's sad. So I'm hoping that everything's good in Nikki Bella world, because we all love Nikki Bella. We all love the Bella twins and the whole Bella family. We're part of the Bella army here on the Ringside Report Network. At least I am. I don't know if Johnny is, but I'm Team Bella forever, okay? Anybody that's part of the Bryan Danielson family is all right by me. We'll talk about that and more tomorrow night here on Wrestling Uncensored. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. A big shout-out to Antoinette for dropping the gifted membership. Thank you, Antoinette. Thank you to Lior for checking in, Franco316, Angelo Contagones, my man Jason Pete out in Mexico.
Mexico!
And all the members supporting us over at join.ringsidereport.net. Join.ringsidereport.net is how you support us by joining the channel on YouTube, or membership.ringsidereport.net is how you support us as well. Many different ways to do it. You can choose. It's up to you. I'll be back tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and then I'll be back again this weekend right after WWE's Bash in Berlin on Saturday afternoon. Big weekend for the WWE and the Ringside Report Network. Thanks for sticking with us to the end.
We would really appreciate it if you could help us spread the word. Please share this episode on whichever social media platform you use. Add a comment below and consider reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. We are an audience-supported network, so consider becoming a recurring supporter at membership.ringsidereport.net. Check out our website at ringsidereport.net. Hope to see you again.